"That's the one," he says, and I cringe. At the Martinez Animal Shelter, and my son Liam, he's picking out his birthday dog in the waning days of last November. And the dog, she's wiggling against the gate. She's not jumping or barking the way so many in the surrounding little stalls are doing. But while I admire that, I can't help noticing that mouth with the wide pit bull smile. "Did you see the German Shepherd?" I ask. Liam is adamant. He's been converted by his brother-in-law, who's a pit bull evangelist. And though my granddog Celia, who's a pit bull boxer mix, is very sweet, I am not convinced that the persistence needed to be the human companion of one of the bully breeds is really consistent with our lifestyle. "This one," Liam insists. The shelter volunteer snaps the leash on her and brings her out into the waiting area where we dance and weave as the dog offers ecstatic greetings to every human and canine encountered. Through sheer willpower, we make it out into the sun, and it was there that I realized, to my horror, that this dog that my son is saying is the one has almost no fur on her whole backside. My disease at this decision grows at the possibility of her disease. I like dogs. I have had lab mixes, an Akita, Dalmatians, Shepherd mixes, and most recently, and still with us, 2 rather sedate, retired racing greyhound ladies. They are not going to approve of what Liam calls a real dog at all. "Is she healthy?" I ask the volunteer. "Oh, sure," she says. And then Liam throws the ball, and this dog they call Crystal races across the AstroTurf to get it. And then at the end, she has this joyful little leap, which all of us have to laugh at. And it's so good to laugh 3 weeks into November of last year. This new world is so odd that somehow I adopt a dense little fruitcake of a dog. Crystal, as she's known, comes home with us. Liam, who has long advocated that he needs a therapy dog, has come up with all kinds of clever names, all related to music. But now he refuses to name this dog in any other way but what she's already called, Crystal. And because when she's tired, she curls up into a little ball, she becomes the new agey-sounding crystal ball. I like her when she's sleeping. And I am, truthfully, a little fearful of her when she's awake. Because despite her effervescent personality, life with a young and largely untrained Shar-Pei pit bull mix is not the same as with those 2 geriatric greyhounds. Liam loves her, and she loves him, and in this hard world, that is not enough. Less than 2 months later, when circumstances mean that my son's despair is so great that he must leave where we live and go off into the healing arms of nature, I am suddenly the primary parent for this animal. Her calm and steady gaze keeps me through my sorrow. I pet her, and as I acclimate to my therapy dog, I understand the reason that they give dogs to people without homes or to those who have had so much grief and loss that it's always with them. In tough times in our life, when the things that we think will always be true are suddenly no longer always true, when the world as we know it is turned into some other form that we can't even imagine, we often find hope in unexpected places. There she is. Would you imagine snuggling with a pit bull? I would not have. When what we know seems undone, and when all we have worked for seems endangered, possibility in our lives comes in strange packages. A stranger's kindness, the healing of speaking out and showing up, a star shower. Those of you who know me on Facebook might recognize the sparkling cheap shoes that my family celebrated with this summer. A dog that wants nothing more than to be loyal to you and eat your socks. As we as a nation have grappled with what we thought then was the worst that could happen to our country back in last November and December, I literally looked fear in the face because this dog had a lot of teeth. And I found, truly, equanimity in the form of a 47-pound chocolate brown, acrobatic, and basically untrained pup. Her fur grew back. She made it clear she was a lap dog. I discovered that I had a lot of prejudices against these animals who are active and loyal to those that they love, but who need a lot of care and training. I know that people are injured by dogs, and I thought of these as particularly dangerous, and they can be because they really are very energetic and they need discipline. Crystal and I went to school, and I told her often that she was the best pit bull in the class because she was the only pit bull in the class. Crystal's engagement in life makes her a natural spiritual teacher with a specialty in the mindfulness that so helps us navigate fear. For you, it might be a friend, yoga, running, driving, or even a cat. I love cats too. Just wanted to see if you were awake out there in August. Last weekend, when the news from Charlottesville, a city that I had lived in for 7 years before we moved here, began to come through, I found myself quite undone. It was a weekend and I didn't have a lot of plans. I had set it aside to do that final push on studying and cleaning. And instead I faced a flood of images and memories of the racism I had witnessed and experienced in that town. And I was afraid, because I knew that if events could happen in that town, which is, on its surface, a small progressive community, they could happen anywhere. And I knew that the fact that men armed with torches, the fact that they felt they could surround that church in that particular city in the South, meant that something was very seriously wrong with our nation's soul. And as I read the news, I felt a small and loyal nose pressing against me, and Crystal and I went to the park to walk. Looking and being present in the world is something that we all have to make an effort to do right now. I'm invited to do this with Crystal because if I don't look, things I care about get chewed up or rearranged. And it actually, truly, it has made me look at my own prejudices and biases and being open to finding care from a being I once would have feared. My friends and family thought I had gone mad, and once again I saw how bias pervades life, even innocent bias, through the way that my relatives did not want to accept that the dog in my home was a pit bull. One day I got a text from one of my relatives who said, "Guess what? I saw a dog that looks just like Crystal, and she's a Staffordshire Terrier," which is another name for pit bull. And then not 5 minutes later, it was followed up by another text from another relative claiming, "Hey, I just heard that Crystal's actually a terrier." Yes, an American pit bull. Children's picture books for a generation. And yet, as I sat with the offending animal in my lap, I forgot that I, only weeks before, had had the same biases. And when I thought about it, I personally realized I knew a lot more people who had been bitten by Dalmatians. How we find ourselves in this world today, after Barcelona, after Charlottesville, after Boston, after all the events of pain and agony throughout the last year, we find ourselves constantly wondering, where is compassion? Where is love? Where is connection? We need to be engaged. And we need to use our considerable power for the many who cannot be. 1 in 8 are numbing themselves to such an extent that they're addicted to alcohol, our news proclaims. And then we hear about the opioid crisis, finally acknowledged. Alice Walker says in her book, Anything We Love Can Be Saved, that during my years of being close to people engaged in changing the world, I have seen fear turn into courage, sorrow into joy, funerals into celebrations, because whatever the consequences, people standing side by side have expressed who they really are, and ultimately what they really believe in the love of the world and each other to be that which is the foundation of activism. And Alice Walker, in another book, also wrote, there is a welcome, a joy, and a delirium of delight that dogs offer that makes it impossible for us to believe that we are not loved. And to know love is a good thing, no matter what form. Compassion, equanimity, mindfulness have been the gifts of my small companion, and that has allowed me to get through a very difficult year. Crystal also taught me humility. Trying to walk two older and easily spooked dogs at the same time as a young and leaping and lunging dog is not pretty. One neighbor actually told me that he and his family had taken to watching for us in the morning. Everything would really go very well until someone had to poop or we encountered any other living thing. At which point, Crystal would give her little leap of joy, and then an unspeakable tangle of leashes would ensue. As a spiritual teacher, Crystal Ball, the Sharpole, reminds me that whatever the worries in my heart or my mind, my body is also a source of comfort. Sometimes just taking a walk matters. And when she is not asleep, she is awake, and awake in the fullest sense of the world. Awake means jumping from a dead stand 9 feet up to touch a toy with your nose. Awake means being able to find out that that same nose can open the push cabinets and get you into places where there are many delightful things. Awake means making multimedia collages that you as a pit bull can create out of household objects that people for some reason don't normally want you to have. Awake can mean many, many things. But being awake, being mindful, is actually the foundation for being active in this world. We have to see what must be resisted and resist it with all we have, and we have to renew ourselves with love. Now, sometimes I am accused of being overly ambitious, so I have actually attempted formal meditation with Crystal. In the morning, I engage in spiritual reading before I wake up. I say prayers for those in my heart before I get out of bed, and then I do a brief sitting meditation after yoga. Upon suddenly becoming the primary parent to the 13-month-old pit bull puppy, I realized that my meditative practice is going to be more limited. For a while, I avoid sitting on the floor because that was when she mistook me for another pit bull wanting to play. Finally, I put her, as our training increased, in a sit, and then proceeded to try to do my meditation. That first day I sat for about a minute. Meditation teachers talk often about the problem of monkey mind. I just want to say that monkey mind is really nothing compared to the challenge of pit bull mind. On a good day now, she sits next to me and sighs loudly. Tammy Simon, the founder of Sounds True, edited a collection of essays called The Dharma of Dogs, which made me feel better that I am not the only one who meditates with a dog. In fact, there were 4 different essays on meditating with dogs. In these challenging times, we take the gifts of friendship wherever we can find them, and places like this one where companionship is available are precious, precious resources. In a time when our world is turned upside down, when we're not sure what we even believe or what we're struggling to find or do, the love and loyalty connection is very important. Scholar Cornel West, who was, as I said, on the front lines in Charlottesville, taught a course on W.E.B. Du Bois's concept of the ancient Greek idea of paideia last week, saying paideia is the maturation of the soul, It is the critical cultivation of a mind, and it is the attempt to examine one's own assumptions and presuppositions. These times, he says, call for that kind of mindfulness and willingness to learn and willingness to look for hope and meaning in new sources. My spiritual guide, Crystal Ball the Sharple, teaches me that we need to keep focusing on things, the things we can do, and the things that keep us centered, and the things that remind us that life is good and whole and nourishing. In these unsettling times, we have to do the things that allow us to keep our balance so that in our balance we can keep others as well balanced. We need to do those things that help us understand that when we are called to be brave, we will have that bravery and courage within us. We need to be able to find those things that keep us in this world and that do not make us escape into the many ways of numbing and losing our life. My friends, the days ahead are fraught with danger. Next weekend, the conflict comes towards us as the haters turn their sights towards Berkeley and San Francisco. However we need to, and with whatever spiritual companions we need to bring, let us ground ourselves and face our fears. And if you have had loss or are struggling with something else changing in your life today, make sure you are particularly caring for yourself because these times are particularly challenging for you. So today at 12:30, I will be offering a special gathering for those who are in that situation, feeling these weights upon the weights of just human existence. And for those of you who wish to be alerted to peaceful and nonviolent actions that we will engage in this week, please see Reverend Neal after the service. Compassion, acceptance, awareness are essential to our engagement and our survival. Remembering our grounding in love is essential for us to act as people of faith. I have to tell you this. I said it last August. I believe it is true again. This will be another year in which we are asked to look fear in the face and to look at ourselves and those things which we are afraid of and see how many of those fears are really justified and how many are just biases we can let go of. We can hear across differences of experience, and we can hear the voices of those who are so scared and who need us to be their companions on this journey. All of us are needed to be witnesses against hate in the streets or as an active part of building spaces of sanctuary and love such as this one. May we receive the help and the hope offered, even if it comes from unexpected places. And may the lessons of love be the ones we pass on to others. And as for me, I'm staying under the mentorship of my spiritual teacher. Thank you so.